All right, today we are starting section 2.6, proof statements about segments and angles. Tomorrow we will spend another day on this section. So we are going to still be writing geometric proofs today. So for our warm-ups, use a property of equality to complete the statement. If the measure of angle 1 is equal to the measure of angle 3, then what's true about the measure of angle 3? It's equal to the measure of angle 1. What property tells us that? Symmetric. Good. If AB is equal to CD and CD is equal to TU, then what can we conclude? AB is equal to TU. What property? What is it? So good. Transitive is more of a clear option there. Yes, sort of substitution would work also. I like transitive in that case because we clearly just cut out that middle there. But if you'd said substitution, if it had required a reason, that would be okay. If RS is equal to WX, then what plus AB is equal to what plus AB? Good. We added AB to both sides. What property is that? Don't make it harder than it is. What did we do? Add. It's addition property of equality. We added the same thing to both sides. Number 4, if the measure of angle EFG is 28 degrees and the measure of angle GFH is 62 degrees, then what plus 62 is equal to those angles added together? Okay, 28 degrees plus 62 degrees is equal to measure of angle EFG plus GFH. Okay, that's sort of along the lines of angle addition, but they also did some substituting in there in my opinion. Questions, concerns? All right, a proof is a logical argument that shows a statement is true. A 2-column proof has numbered statements and corresponding reasons, bless you, that show an argument in logical order. The last one we should technically already know. What kind of statements can be proven? It's an old vocab word.
Theorem.
A theorem is a statement that can be proven. Yeah. All right. First example. This one's kind of nice because they've got a lot of the statement part filled in for us, which kind of gives us some hints about how to do this. So, don't like that my picture is overlapping my statements. That's fine. I'll deal with that. All right. The first statement they gave was that the measure of angle AXC is equal to the measure of AXD. How do we know that? It says it where? It's given. It says it all the way up here under given. So we know that we can go ahead and fill in our first reason as given. It might also be helpful for us to mark that in the diagram. So angle AXD is this large angle up here, and angle AXC is the large angle down here. Okay, what else is given to us? Okay, the measure of angle 2 is equal to the measure of angle 3. Where do we see that in our statements? Number 5. So that means that that is also given. Now, There's not necessarily one correct way to do a proof. When I was taught to do these years ago, we listed all our givens first. They're ordering it a little bit differently. They're not bringing in the given until they're about to use that information. It doesn't matter to me. Okay, but if information is given to you, you need to put it as a statement somewhere in your proof before you use that information. Does that make sense? Okay, it's got to be in there somewhere. So whether you just want to put them all in the beginning and get them out of the way, that's fine with me. If you want to wait until you're about to use that information, you can put it further down in your statements. All right, so we're headed to proving that the measure of angle 1 is equal to the measure of angle 4. That's where they want us to get to. In order to get there, let's look at what they're having us do. So they're talking about the measure of angle AXD. So that's this top angle that we've already marked. It's equal to the measure of what two angles added together? 1 and 2. You could use the letters, but I would highly recommend just using the numbers if they put them there. But we have to give a reason for why that's true. Something we've seen a couple times. We're not dealing with segments. Angle addition postulate allows us to say that. If you put angle add, that's fine, or angle add post, that's fine. The very bare minimum would be angle addition. If you just write the word addition, not going to be good enough. The addition property is when we add two things to both sides of an equation, or the same thing to both sides. So I need the word angle in there. All right, then they say the measure of angle AXC, so that's the bottom big angle, is equal to what two angles added together? 3 and 4. Again, how did we know that? Angle addition. Angle addition postulate. All right, so the next statement they give us, the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 is equal to the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 4. Substitution is the best option here. So on that one, we took statement 1 and we substituted in for both AXD and AXC. So we used steps 1, 2, and 3 to make that substitution. All right, step 5 we already talked about, so we'll go to step 6. So they have step 4 rewritten, but instead of the measure of angle 2, they want us to put something else there. What do you think they want us to put there? Caitlin? Angle 3. That's why they just put measure angle 2 equals measure angle 3 right above it, because they're about to use that right now. So what did they do to do that? Substitution again. So they replaced angle 2 with just angle 3. That was a real simple substitution. Not a big complicated one. From the very beginning, we could have filled in our 7th statement. What is our last statement always going to be? The proof. So we could have filled that statement in right away. We know it needs to be the measure of angle 1 equals the measure of angle 4. So how can we get there from step 6? Not transitive. Subtraction. What did we subtract from both sides? The measure of angle 3. So the subtraction property of equality allows us to do that. Transitive would be something like measure angle 2 equals measure angle 3, measure angle 3 equals measure angle 4, and so then we conclude measure angle 2 equals measure angle 4. So then we're cutting out that measure angle 3. So to set up transitive, you need a couple other steps before that. Other questions, concerns? These are going to look familiar. I kind of alluded to this before when we did our properties of equality, but now we're going to be doing those properties for congruence. So I've mentioned this a little bit before. It's going to become a bigger deal now that we're getting it in our notes. If we are talking about equality or an equal sign, we are talking about numbers and measures. If we're talking about congruence, we're talking about figures or pictures, objects, not numbers. Okay, numbers are equal, diagrams are congruent. They're very similar, they're very highly related, but we do have to keep the ideas separate. So, when we're talking reflexive property for segment AB, I am putting the bar over it to talk about the segment as an object or a picture. Reflexive property states that it is congruent to itself. So segment AB is congruent to segment AB. If you're talking about congruence from here on out, you better have the segment bar above it, or the angle symbol, or whatever it may be. Symmetric property, if AB, segment AB is congruent to segment CD, then, anybody think they know it? Good. Segment CD is congruent to segment AB. The properties themselves don't really change. They're still doing the same things. We're just dealing with congruence instead of equality. Transitive property, if segment AB is congruent to segment CD, and segment CD is congruent to segment EF, then what must be true? Good. Segment AB is congruent to segment EF. Again, if you're using a congruent symbol, you better have the bars. If you're using an equal sign, you shouldn't have the bars. I didn't get super picky about that on this quiz we just took. I'll be more picky about it moving forward. All right, some of you may have already started filling this in. Again, these properties are the same properties we've been talking about. This time we're just talking about angle congruence. So for any angle A is congruent to angle A. Notice we don't have that little M in front of the angle symbol. What does the little M stand for? Measure. Measures are equal, objects are congruent. Symmetric property, if angle A is congruent to angle B, then angle B is congruent to angle A. Finally, transitive property, if angle A is congruent to angle B is congruent to angle C, then angle A is congruent to angle C. Beautiful. All right, these ones are pretty straightforward. Just name the property illustrated by the statement. So on letter A, angle 5 is congruent to angle 3, then angle 3 is congruent to angle 5. Symmetric, good. Symmetric allows us to state congruence forwards or backwards. If angle H is congruent to angle T, and angle T is congruent to angle B, then angle H is congruent to angle B. Is transitive. They cut out the middle angle T. Transitive. Yes, okay. Questions, concerns? Okay, so it's usually pretty easy to pick out a property if you're just given one statement. It's a little bit trickier to use that statement inside of a proof, or that reason inside of a proof. This one should look awfully familiar. We've talked about this or one similar to it a couple times. Also, it's really short. So, what's my first statement going to be? Good. First one, BC is equal to AB. My reason for that? Given. It's given. Okay? But they don't just want us to talk about BC and AB. They want us to eventually bring in the idea of AC. Anybody know what we need to do next? Very good. These are those kind of statements that we have to get used to pulling out of thin air, basically. Because we know that is true by what? Segment addition postulate. Segment addition or segment add is fine. If you just put addition, that doesn't work for me. You gotta be clear that we're talking about segment addition. Alright, this one's pretty short. What's our last step? Oop, forgot my C. AC is equal to AB plus AB. You could have filled that in from the beginning because it is given to you as what kind of statement? The proof statement. Your proof statement should always come last. What did we do to get there? Substitution. Substitution was the last thing we did. All right. Our homework is on page 116. Should also be on your assignment guide. A couple things real quick that I want you to pay attention to about our schedule. If you're looking at your assignment guide and you count out the days, we have a quiz coming up next Wednesday. And we have a test coming up next Friday. Okay, quiz on Wednesday, test on Friday next week. Big week for us. We will spend Thursday reviewing. Tuesday is also really going to be a review day. So our only new notes are coming tomorrow and Monday. Tuesday we have an in-class activity that'll help us review and practice together. Quiz Wednesday, more review Thursday, test Friday.